Hello, everybody. This is Nick Morgeson here from the Empty the Bench Podcast Network. I am co-host of Empty the Bench, the flagship show here on the network. I've been doing some live streams over the past couple of weeks with some NBA news, and we're going to talk about another topic in the NBA, which we weren't going to have time to do on ETB Sports or on our Substack exclusive Alley-Oop Analytics. And it has to do with the 76ers season is over, thanks to Joel Embiid. And you're probably saying to yourself, but Nick, are you really surprised that the season is over? Now, let me be very clear about one thing before we get to the actual news involving Joel Embiid. The 76ers have been a dumpster fire in every way, shape, or form so far this whole season. They've not been playing well. They have not been playing up to par at all so far. So the 76ers have just been awful. And everyone was expecting them to be in a much better situation. A lot of people were expecting them to be in a much better situation. But when you just look at the scheme of things and you look at what is going on with the 76ers this season, they need to just shut it down and just, it's almost in a tank mode, and me being an NBA fan who does not like the whole tanking nonsense that goes on in the NBA, but look at the standings and look where the 76ers are, which nobody expected the 76ers to be in. They're 20-36 currently in the Eastern Conference. They are the 12th seed. The 12th seed. No one expected them to be the 12th seed. No one. Everyone was expecting, with Joel Embiid and Paul George and Tyrese Maxey, excuse me, that this team was going to be in the top 5 or even the top 3 in the Eastern Conference. A lot of people were hoping that this was going to be a really good team and go a lot of places. But let's break this all down. Okay, so if you're just joining, 76ers season is over thanks to Joel Embiid. That leads to the report by Shams Charania of ESPN. And I'll get you the whole tweet because I couldn't really fit it up on the whole StreamYard banner. But this is fitting for Joel Embiid, who has been an injury-prone mess the last couple of years. And I'll read you the tweet. This is part of the tweet because I couldn't fit it up. But according to Shams Charania of ESPN, the 76ers and Joel Embiid are consulting doctors and considering alternative options on his injured knee. Sources tell ESPN. Sides have hope for progress in Embiid's body, but his efforts to play and current treatments, including injections, have not provided any improvement whatsoever. Gee, are we really surprised considering what has gone on with this guy? What has happened with his injury history? I mean, come on. You can't be this naive to think that this guy was going to have more issues. I mean, come on. It's that bad. It's a nightmare. You can't tell me that this guy was going to make it through a full season. He just was not. This guy shouldn't have been an MVP at all. And by the way, I'm the first one to say that I don't like the game limits. I don't like the bullshit with the game limits that have to do with whether you win the MVP or Defensive Player of the Year. I don't believe in those rules. But at the same time, Joel Embiid should not have won that MVP. It should have gone to Jokic again. He should have won the 4 in a row. Because guess what? Nikola Jokic stays healthy and stays on the court. What has Joel Embiid done? I saw a ridiculous stat that he's missed what? Like 70 to 75% of games? This guy is a joke. And the 76ers, who gave him a contract, and I'm just looking that up for context because I don't remember the full deal. And by the way, if you have comments, feel free to drop them in the live stream. We'll go over stuff as well. So I'm pulling up the Spot Track. I use Spot Track for player contracts. So currently, he's on a 3-year, $192 million deal. Think about that right now. 3 years, $192 million. Hey, 76ers, are you regretting that contract right now? I would be. Look at the money. Look at the cap hits. It's unbelievable that the 76ers would even succumb to giving him money. And this is how you handle it? You should have never have given Joel Embiid this contract. Never. It was stupid from the start. The 76ers were never going to go anywhere with Joel Embiid. This guy's not a leader. He can't lead other players. Tyrese Maxey is more of a leader than Joel Embiid will ever be a leader of this team. Now, just for updated sake, so Embiid right now is in the middle of a 4-year extension for $213 million. And then he got a contract extension added on top of it. And the cap hits for the next couple of years, because the player option was scratched out, but 25-26 is going to be $55 million next year, which is about 36% of the cap. Then the numbers just keep going up because NBA contracts go up on the back end and a lot of times don't come down. Okay? So 26-27, he's going to make close to $60 million. Let me say that again. $60 million. Not worth it. He's going to be 35% of the cap in 26-27 season. 27-28, $64 million. And almost 35% of the cap. You see the trend that we're going on here? That this guy can't stay healthy. He can't even play back-to-back games. He can't. He just can't stay healthy. It's kind of ridiculous. And then 28-29, which is a player option. Listen to this number, okay? Because you're going to be stunned. Stunned. What I tell you his player option number is in 28-29. Almost $70 million. And that's a player option, which means he has control. Meaning, if he's still on this team, which he's not going anywhere, because the 76ers are not going to be able to trade him and get any value back in return for a guy who can't play back-to-back games. In 28-29, you think he's opting out of that player option at almost $70 million? No! He'll be happy to take that money. Even if he's only playing like 30-40% of the season. Because the guy can't stay healthy. I mean, the 76ers are in a pickle if I ever saw one. And this season is completely over. Throw this in the garbage pail. This season is a complete and utter failure. Okay? City of Brotherly Love is not feeling a lot of brotherly love right now. And trust the process, my ass. There's no trust the process right now in Philadelphia. Where they said, oh, well, we'll win a title in what, 6, 7, 8 years? You guys have not come close to winning a title. You just have not. And Joel Embiid has one of the sorriest attitudes and ego I've ever seen in the NBA. He's been suspended for hitting players. His ego is off the charts. Excuse me. The 76ers are never going to win with Joel Embiid as the leader of this franchise. They're just not. And Shams has just proven it. Shams Charania of ESPN has just proven it in the reporting. He reported further for NBA Countdown on ESPN Now on Joel Embiid and the 76ers set to consult specialists on the best path forward with his ailing knee. You want to know what the best path going forward is for the 76ers? Take the insurance money. Because he's never going to play a full season at 100% full health anymore. You got to figure out something. You literally just paid this guy a full extension. And now you'll be lucky if you get, 40, 45, 50% at best from this guy, which you just paid a shitload of money to? It's just not going to happen. And try and understand, and let me be very clear about something. I'm not a doctor. I don't profess to be a doctor. And maybe I just play one on TV. So I don't know anything about the exact injury that Joel Embiid is dealing with. I know it's a knee injury because that's been quite clear. But for both sides to say that they were expecting more progress out of Embiid's condition is just silly. It's silly. There was no way Joel Embiid was going to be better. And by the way, they're not going to admit it, but the 76ers benched Joel Embiid because he couldn't play. That's what they did. They benched him. He can't move. The guy cannot run around the court. He can't do what he needs to do. It's awful. They need to build around Tyrese Maxey, not Joel Embiid. And you know what? I have a perfect reference to tell you what Joel Embiid will be. Okay, listen. If you know The Price is Right, you obviously know that from the ice climber, the game where they guess the prices, and if he goes over the hill and falls over, you lose the game. That's Joel Embiid. He's going to fall over the cliff eventually. He's very close to falling over that cliff. And you know what? The 76ers are the price that went too high. That's what they are. $213 million. And then another extension on top of it. How do you not do your due diligence to say, you know what? Maybe we should look into the injury history a little bit more before we decide to give him a contract extension? Did we think about that? Did we think about maybe this Joel Embiid to destroy the 76ers organization? Now, let me be very clear about something too. The 76ers have been a joke and a mess for a long time. Like I said, trust the process does not work. Doesn't. But Joel Embiid was supposed to be the lead and be the leader of this franchise. And that just doesn't exist. This guy will never, ever, ever be a leader because he can't stay healthy. Number one. Number two, the guy's just not good enough to be in the upper echelons of the greatest in the NBA. This guy doesn't care about being on the court. If he really cared about being on the court, he would have taken care of his body way better. Okay? You look at the guys that care, and when I say this next name, I have to hold my breath because I don't like him. But look at LeBron James. I'm a LeBron hater. I've been on the record and said that many times. But that guy at 40 years old is a specimen. Like, he's a workout freak and keeps himself in good shape. He's 40 years old. He plays like he's 30. But the amount of injuries he's had, you still got to keep yourself in good shape to be able to compete in a professional sport. And Joel Embiid, I don't think will ever get back to the point of greatness that he's had. I just don't see it. And by the way, I'm laughing because I see on Joel Embiid's Twitter background, it says "the process," which is funny, by the way, because there's no more process going on in Philadelphia. I wouldn't trust Joel Embiid. The guy has basically made it clear that he doesn't care what the fans think. He doesn't care if he can get himself in good shape. He doesn't care. If you're waiting for him to come back and try hard, it's just not going to happen. And Bobby Marks made a really good point. He's the NBA financial guru. He broke it down this way. After this year, Joel Embiid is owed $248.1 million over the next 4 seasons. And the exact breakdown, 25-26, $55.2 million, 26-27, $59.5, 27-28, $64.3, 28-29, $69.1. The contract is fully guaranteed. What does that mean in English? It means he could sit out 10% of the games or 100% of the games, and the contract is fully guaranteed. That's what's so crazy. And think about this. You have Paul George on the hook for a bunch of money too, and he hasn't stayed healthy all year. Let's just state facts. And look at his numbers after this season. 51.6 million, 54 million, and 56 million. And people gave me shit because I called out Paul George for worrying more about his podcast than getting on the court and staying healthy. It's a fact. Stop worrying about your stupid podcast P, and getting healthy on the court and winning games for the 76ers. Okay? Same thing with Joel Embiid. Worry about getting healthy, getting on the court, and winning games for the 76ers. That's it. It's not about anything else. It's not about your ego. It's not about your money. It's not about your sponsors and endorsements. It's about you winning games for the 76ers. Last time I checked, it's about what? Winning titles. Winning rings. Creating a legacy so you don't get remembered as a fool or a jerk where his whole career is going to be remembered by injuries. Because that's what it is right now. Joel Embiid's career is just going to be remembered for injuries, and that's it. I don't even think Joel Embiid is that great of a player, to be quite honest. And I know I'm going to get flack for saying that. And if you want to say it in the comments, feel free to do so. Joel Embiid is not worth the money. He's not worth all the exposure. And he's certainly not worth all the hype. He has not earned the hype that he's getting and all the attention that he's getting. It's a joke. There are so many far better players, guys that have tried their hardest to stay healthy, that I'd rather have. Just look at the other teams. And look at the situation, like with Luka. who just got traded from the Dallas Mavericks to the Los Angeles Lakers. I know that's not a situation he wanted, but he got back from his injury. He's on the court with LeBron, and now the Lakers are shining and playing hard. It's just the way it is. There's no relaxing when it comes to being a professional athlete. You got to want it. You got to put the time and the effort in to win in professional sports. And you know what? Joel Embiid is not a winner. He's a loser. And I mean that figuratively and literally. He's a loser when it comes to being on the court. He's a loser when it comes to his attitude. And he's a loser because all he cares about is his ego. It's all about ego with Joel Embiid. Because he wants to go off and say, well, I'm a winner. I'm a winner. I'm one of the best in the NBA. I'm an MVP. No, you didn't deserve that MVP. You were out most of the season. I mean, I'm looking this up too, just because I wanted to know how many games he missed during the MVP season. But Jokic had a much better season. That's what's so crazy. And with this MVP eligibility tracker that you have to play in 65 games of the 82, well, you're certainly not going to get that now. So the MVP's off the floor, off the agenda for Embiid. Not that I think he really cared about winning the MVP. Go ask Kawhi Leonard. He falls into the same boat as Joel Embiid, not caring whether he gets back on the court. And he signed massive extensions for $215 million. Kawhi didn't care. He'll just sit out if he's not happy. And the same thing with Joel Embiid. Because the 76ers, who bailed him out, basically said, well, guess what? Oh, well, you're hurt all the time. Well, we'll just say you don't have to play back-to-back games. That's not what your star is supposed to do. I'm tired of this BS that we coddle these all-stars like they're babies. You get paid millions upon millions upon millions upon millions upon millions of dollars. Joel Embiid making close to $60 million a year. There's no excuses for injuries. There just is not. Get your ass back on the court and get healthy and help your team win. And like I said, I get it. This season is basically over because they're 12th in the Eastern Conference and going nowhere, which is a problem. Let's see if I can find the numbers. They are 3-8 within their division. And they're 14-22 within their conference. And they're 1-9 in their last 10. They've lost 9 out of the last 10 games. There's no way, for the time being, that they would ever beat any of these other teams up above. They're not beating Cleveland. They're not beating the Celtics. They're not beating the Knicks. They're not beating the Pacers. They're not beating the Bucks. I think even the Pistons would beat them. And the Pistons, who are 6th in the Eastern Conference, which Anthony and I are going to talk about on Empty the Bench on Wednesday, because the Pistons have been an incredible story. They've played way better. Everyone thought they were just going to sink and have another horrible season. But leave that to the Wizards, who are 9-47 and don't even have double-digit wins yet. But the 76ers are probably up there as the biggest disappointment of the 2024-25 season. And people are going to say, but Nick, are you sure about that? I'm like, yeah, I am. They're a disappointment. They're a complete disappointment. And by the way, just for an update's sake and context, he's missed like 400 games. 400 games. This guy doesn't deserve to make the money that he's making. I mean, come on, dude. Like, if you really wanted to try hard, you would figure out how to get back. You would figure out how to get your body healthy. You would do what it takes. But you don't care. Joel Embiid will never be liked. He's not going to be a guy that's liked by a lot of the guys around the NBA. He's always going to be a problem. And that's just the long or the short of it. I appreciate everyone who's watching so far. If you have any comments, please drop them in the live stream, whether you're watching on Twitter on YouTube. Please drop a comment and tell me your thoughts as we continue to talk about the news that the 76ers and Joel Embiid are consulting doctors and considering alternative options on his injured knee. Current treatments, including injections, have not provided any improvement so far. And one of the options they're talking about is what? They're talking about surgery again. This guy gets surgery. He's going to be out another recovery process of a year. I hope the 76ers have a good insurance policy on Joel Embiid's contract, because they're going to be paying him a shitload of money. And they're not going to get a productive player on the court. They're just not. And this is a problem. I don't know what to say, but the 76ers are screwed. Screwed. Because like I said, they gave him the contract. They said, here you go, Joel. Here's your extension on top of the couple of years left that you have. No problem. There won't be any injuries. There won't be any other issues. Well, guess what? What is that dumb saying? Don't count your chickens before they hatch. Well, guess what? They hatched, and you weren't ready for them to hatch. And now you're dealing with an injury-riddled player who is another mistake financially, and the 76ers are going to have to figure out a way to not let this completely derail their franchise. Because right now, it's derailing their franchise. And anyone who's here in the comments, tell me, who's the replacement? You have Tyrese Maxey. That's all well and good. He's a really, really good player, and I think they really need to build around him in the future. They do. But Paul George is not going to last forever. He's just as bad as Joel Embiid. Now, Paul George has managed to get back on the court and is doing the best he can, but Paul George can't be the leader of a team. Just think about that, okay? He was all right with the Pacers. Then he ends up in OKC. No one cared. Then he ends up with the Clippers. And he's all right. I mean, he's with Kawhi. Kawhi never stays healthy. Paul George gets hurt. He gets paid with Clippers. Excuse me. And then demands out again and signs a huge deal with the 76ers, because the 76ers point of view is that let's pair Paul George with Joel Embiid. It's the next super duo, or the next big three with Tyrese Maxey. Trust the process will finally come to life. Well, guess what? Trust the process never had a chance to come to life. I don't think those three have barely been on the court together, to be honest. Now, I could look that up too, because I'm curious to see how many games Embiid, George, and Maxey play together. but I doubt it's many. I doubt it. It doesn't seem like many. There's not a huge record of it, but I don't know what you do. I mean, the trade deadlines are long gone, so you can't do anything with that. The Joel Embiid contract is an albatross. Excuse me. Like I said, Bobby Marks of ESPN said it. $248 million in the next 4 years. What do you do? What are you supposed to do? Because I don't think there's an answer. Joel Embiid will go down as someone who is a valuable NBA player, but could never stay healthy to the point where he could actually bring value to his own franchise. It just doesn't exist. And now, the 76ers, which, again, like many teams in the past with all-stars, invest their resources and their money, and now they're fucked. What are you supposed to do now? Because, again, there is no answer for this at all. There's nothing. It's not like you could just say, hey, let me go out there and replace this with another guy and say, that's my answer. I knew I'd find an answer. We'll just take the insurance money on Joel Embiid and we'll find another play. And by the way, I find this funny too. This is from Kyle Neubeck, who covers the Sixers for Philly Sports, which is kind of a newer platform. This is Nick Nurse on not playing Embiid in the fourth quarter. Quote, that group was just playing so well together and had good feel for the game at that point and just wanted to let them roll with it. Yeah. You know what that sounds like to me? A benching. It was a benching. And now we're finding out, just to soften the blow, that there was actually an injury. Come on, man. Like, you're going to lie to the Sixer fans. You're going to lie to NBA fans and try to cover up a benching, which you might have an injury. I don't know. But if you have an injury, just admit it fully and figure out what you got to do. Because right now, it's not working. It's not working. And I don't know what the 76ers' plan is to make this work with somebody else. Like I said, Tyrese Maxey is your leader of the future. That guy is awesome. But that's not enough for the 76ers to succeed. It's just not enough. I mean, Maxey and Paul George are a pretty good duo. But no Joel Embiid? Like, what are you supposed to do? You built your whole franchise, your whole livelihood on Joel Embiid being the leader of this team. So what are you supposed to do? I don't think anyone wants to play for the 76ers because they're kind of a cursed franchise. Like, they'll make the playoffs. They'll make a run here and there. They'll get through a round or two. But then that's it. That's it. They're never going to win a title in our lifetime. At least I don't feel like it'll be in my lifetime. I'm 32 years old. I just turned 32 about 2.5 weeks ago, or about 2 weeks ago. So I don't see them winning anytime soon because they can't figure it out. This franchise has a lot of issues that they got to figure out and a lot of answers they have to get now that Joel Embiid is basically null and void and as fragile as the glass of a house. You have that other dumb saying, You shouldn't throw stone at glass houses. I mean, this guy is as fragile as glass. I've never seen someone so fragile. Tell me someone that you think is more fragile than Joel Embiid. You can't come up with anybody. Maybe the one guy, and he's actually playing way better now that he's not in Philadelphia anymore and he's in LA, is James Harden. I mean, that guy went from being a massive disaster. And I'm trying to look for the sound effect that we used to play for him all the time. Like, you would always hear this one. Fat! Because he would just blame it on being fat, or he would purposely eat and make himself fatter to use as an excuse rather than wanting to try hard. But James Harden has now figured it out. Look at some of these guys. They figured it out. Joel Embiid will always be on an endless circle. It'll look like he's fixing his situation. And then by the time he gets back to actually getting there, he gets to the end of the circle. Oh, sorry, I'm injured again. Now we got to start the circle over and over and over. There's no end. There is absolutely no end for the 76ers and Joel Embiid. How many times are you going to wait for this guy and say, well, you know what? If he would just get healthy, we would have a chance. And you know what my answer would be to that?
Stay off the weed. Duh.
And by the way, Stephen A had a lot to say about it. And for a change, I think Stephen A is actually right about this. Basically saying that the 76ers season is a complete dumpster fire and it's over. It's been over for a while, Stephen A. We just weren't willing to admit it fast enough. That's the true honesty here. The 76ers never had a chance. Once Joel Embiid went out on his injury, was never going to be healthy, and there was no consistency involved with this franchise going forward. And here's the actual quote from Stephen A. This was on NBA Countdown earlier. America, you don't give a damn about the Sixers. And neither do we. We're reporting the news because Shams is great, referring to Shams Charania. They are done. This season is over. Lose, sit Joel Embiid for the rest of the season. This season is a joke. It is a joke. It has been a joke all year. And usually I'm on the other side of Stephen A's ridiculous quotes. But he's right about this one. The season is long over. They are not recovering from a 20-36 record. They would have to play unbelievable the rest of the season just to get to 500. And we all know that's not going to happen. Anyone who thinks that they're going to recover, well, guess what?
I was on crack!
Yeah, that's what I would say to them, too. Because what are you smoking if you think the 76ers are coming back this year? The problem is there was so much promise with the 76ers having that trio of players of Joel Embiid, Paul George, and Tyrese Maxey. And it's turned into a complete dumpster fire mess. Someone took propane or gasoline, poured it on the ground, took a match and lit it. Because the 76ers are basically a mess that they lit on fire. There's no redeeming value. There's no redeeming qualities to the 76ers this year. I guess you could just play the young players and see what it gets you. Because eventually maybe you just tank. But you're never going to get to a tank status where you get to the top of the draft. I think the Wizards hold that spot happily. Because you're not going to be able to tank enough to get to Cooper Flagg status, who's going to be the number one overall pick in the next draft. But Wow. 76ers. I feel bad for 76ers fans because they've been through it for the last 7, 8, 9 years, or what feels like a decade. And the ownership saying to you, well, just trust the process. Trust the process. We will get there eventually. Well, do you feel like you wasted 7 to 8 years of your life as a Philadelphia 76er fan? Is it time to say deny the process? I think it's time to deny the process, not trust it. Because this ownership doesn't have a damn clue what they're going to do if Joel Embiid is over, done. And 76ers ownership put a lot of money into these players. And when I look at the ownership group, I don't see how Josh Harris recovers from this. They have a lot to figure out. I don't know what they do. I don't think spending more money is the right plan either. This is not like the Golden State Warriors, who spent a shitload of money, went way over the cap, and won 3 titles. If you're winning titles, you will obviously pay the luxury tax bill, knowing that you're going to win 3 titles in 5 years. Because that's what the Warriors did. They won titles. That's what they needed to do to keep Steph Curry, Draymond Green, Klay Thompson, eventually adding Kevin Durant, even though Kevin Durant was chasing a title. But that's neither here nor there. But they were way over the cap. But when you're winning titles, you're willing to spend a little more money to keep a team together that is a dynasty. They were a dynasty, or at least close to a dynasty, because that team knew how to win. That team knew what it needed to do to win. This team does not know what it needs to do to win. They just don't have the proper pieces in place to drive this team to the next level. That's what they're missing, driving a team to the next level. If you keep bringing in guys who are stars but just don't have the ability to do it, I just don't see it. I just don't see that happening. I don't know what you do. Do you blow it up and start all over? Do you just say, all right, Joel Embiid is null and void, an insurance risk? And do you just say, all right, maybe we just pay off an insurance and move on? I hope they took insurance on that contract. I mean, I'm looking that up right now to see if they did, because if they pulled a Washington Nationals Steven Strasburg situation where they didn't have insurance, that's a problem. That's a huge problem if they don't have insurance. Because then they're on the hook for money that they really shouldn't have to be on the hook for if they would just pay for the insurance, unless they couldn't get insurance on that money. Then you'd have a whole nother scenario going on if you couldn't get insurance to protect this money. So I don't know what you do at this point, everybody. The 76ers have a lot of questions to answer. They need to kind of almost rejigger their franchise now. Because if Joel Embiid has to go under the knife for another surgery, we're talking about another year plus possibly in recovery, which means you're going to miss him for the rest of this year and definitely part of next year for sure. So they got to figure out what the hell they're going to do to get this franchise back on track. So I don't know what they do. They need, if you're a good NBA ownership group and then you have a good GM, and I don't know what you do there. What do you do as the Sixers GM? Daryl Morey, who has been a mess and hasn't done great. What are you supposed to do? I don't know. If I knew the answer, I'd be a rich person right now. I'd be a billionaire. So they got to figure it out, whatever that is. And they got to put a team on the court that actually cares and wants to win. This is a tough one, everybody. The 76ers make me scratch my head. And it's just one of those things that makes you say, well, if Joel Embiid could have stayed healthy, and as they say, coulda, woulda, shoulda in professional sports, because you don't know if certain players will stay healthy. Will it lead to titles? Will it not lead to titles? I don't know. So I don't know what to do here. In my opinion, Joel Embiid is a lost cause, and they need to find a way out of this contract, whether it's making a deal or taking insurance or doing what they had to do to get out from it. I would, because Joel Embiid is a waste. And I know people are going to get mad at me when they watch this in the replay saying, Nick, you don't know how hard it is to be a professional athlete. You're right. I don't know how hard it is to be a professional athlete. But I do know that the guys who care and the stars that make it big, they try their hardest to keep their bodies healthy. And they do everything they need to do to stay on the court, on the field, on the ice, on whatever field they're on. Another guy who I don't like, Tom Brady, spends $1 million every year when he was playing. Spent $1 million to keep his body healthy. He obviously lost one season, if we remember, when Matt Castle had to take over because of that season-ending injury. But he really was not injured that much. Because what did he do? He spent part of the money he's made, or he just spent money on keeping what? Together. His body. That's his real estate. That's what he needs to operate, to function, to make a living. Not that Tom Brady needs to really worry about money, but he did what he had to do to keep his body in shape. I don't know if Joel Embiid cares enough to keep his body in shape and to care enough to win for this team. I don't think he cares. To be honest, he's made over $200 million. Do you think he really cares about whether he will actually win a title? Or does he just care that his legacy is all screwed up? Because right now, his legacy is all effed up. Because he's just going to be remembered as the guy who doesn't care, doesn't give a shit. And now, with another pending surgery on the way, I just don't see how this guy recovers to have a even semi career. I just don't see it. I don't see how you can have an improvement if you can't get your body healthy to stay on the court consistently enough for people to know that you're a good player. There's too many good players right now to the point where Joel Embiid just doesn't matter. He doesn't matter. I think he should just go away and hide because right now, like, no one cares that he's off the court. I dare someone to challenge me and say to me that Joel Embiid matters. Because there are plenty of big men that matter way more than Joel Embiid. I'd take Giannis, and I obviously would take Nikola Jokic way before Joel Embiid. I just would. It's so obvious. Nikola Jokic cares. Now, to the contrary, with reports that all he cares about are his horses and being in Serbia, and obviously he's won a title. number one, also. So there is that, which is great. But at least he cares enough to keep his body in shape and to be passionate enough to be with his guys during the season with the Nuggets to win a title. That's what matters. Winning titles. Building a career that you're proud of. Making a legacy. Winning titles is the most important when getting to the league. You want to hold up that coveted trophy when you win. You want to hold up, whether it's the World Series or the NBA Finals or the Lombardi Trophy in the NFL for the Super Bowl or the Stanley Cup. You want to win titles. Titles matter. Being an asshole doesn't. And unfortunately, Joel Embiid is never going to change. I just don't see it changing. If anyone thinks Joel Embiid is going to change, let me know. Because if you have an answer for Joel Embiid changing, I certainly would like to hear it. Because there's no magic elixir to get Joel Embiid healthy and to change his ego, to change his attitude, and to change his process for what affects him in life. Because it's just, it doesn't exist. But I think that'll just about do it for this stream. YouTube.com/ETB Network. Please like and subscribe so we can bring you more of these live breaking streams along with our shows. It would be really appreciated if you go like and subscribe. It helps. We're very close to 1,000 subscribers. So please, if you're watching on the YouTube side, please go to youtube.com/ETB Network and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Like I said, it really helps. And make sure you check out our Substack, etbnetwork.substack.com, where we put out all this bonus content that's not on our YouTube channels or Acast. etbnetwork.substack.com. It's $5 a month or $60 for the year. All our shows do bonus short video series on there. So please go over there. It's $5 a month or $60 for the year. I promise you it's worth it. So please go over there. And like I said, for the final time, youtube.com/ETB Network. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're approaching 1,000 subscribers. So please help us out for there. That'll do it for this live stream. If you missed the news, 76ers and Joel Embiid are consulting doctors considering alternative options on his injured knee. Current treatments, including injections, have not provided any improvement, and surgery is on the table. That'll do it. I'm Nick Morgan, co-host of ETB Sports here on the Empty the Bench Podcast Network. Our next episode, 268, comes out on Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. So please join us then, and we will see you next time.